Okay, hello everyone. This is Ashley Vaccaro with the Office of Charter Schools. I am going to go ahead and take roll call. It looks like we have a quorum, but we're going ahead and take roll. So Alex Quigley.
Present.
Lynn Kroger.
Here.
Cheryl Turner.
Here.
Hilda Parlay.
Present.
Sherry Reeves.
Here.
Jamie Falconberry. Joel Ford. Rita Hare. Terry Stoops.
Here.
Heather Van Cannon. And Bruce Friend. Okay, we do have a quorum. We have 6 members here, Chair Quigley. So it's up to you if you'd like to start now or give it another minute or two.
You said we have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and start.
Okay, let me pull up the material. All right.
All right, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the mission statement of the Charter Schools Advisory Board is to work to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. And our ethics statement is that board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the advisory board. Does any member of the advisory board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? Okay, if at any time you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring it to my attention. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and voting on the matter. Okay, at this time, we'll review the agenda, and we'll start with some introductions of some new board members and our new a new general counsel for the State Board of Education. We'll review our virtual charter school enrollment report and then discuss SABA's situation. So any discussion on the agenda as outlined?
Alex, I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
And Hilda Parlay seconds.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take a voice vote. All in favor of the agenda as outlined?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. At this time, we'll hear from, we're excited to introduce Allison Schaefer, the new general counsel for the State Board of Education. And Allison, I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. I look forward to working with you all. I just came on in as general counsel. This is my 3rd week, so I'm still getting my feet wet, but I do have 35 years of experience working in education law in North Carolina. And so I know a lot of the issues, and I'm familiar with a lot of what you all do and what the State Board does. And I'm excited to be working with you. I know that Tiffany Lucas has been wonderful and helpful and making sure that your legal needs are met. And we are actually going to be working to consolidate the legal counsel function for both the DPI and State Board into one group, and hopefully to streamline the process to making sure that you get your needs met. I've already dealt with your charter school office on a number of issues, and I'm looking forward to continuing to support you and to meet you, and I will participate in your meetings as I can. But you will always have access to legal representation that you need. That's my pledge.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you for joining us. We're excited. At this time, I'm excited to introduce Dr. Terry Stoops, who is the governor's designee to the Charter School Advisory Board. And I'll give Dr. Stoops a moment to introduce himself.
Well, thank you, Alex. It is an absolute honor to be part of this board. Many thanks to Mark Robinson for appointing me. He's a school choice champion, and I am too, and look forward to serving. I've worked at the John Locke Foundation since 2005, writing and speaking about education policy, co-founder of Carolina Charter Academy, a charter school in Angier, North Carolina, and my youngest is at Pine Springs Prep. So great to be on this board, serving with Bruce, whose leadership of the school has been absolutely amazing, and it's been an amazing experience for my son. So really look forward to working with everyone, and thank you, Alex.
We're excited to have you join us. All right. At this time, we're going to go ahead and review the recommendation for the charter school enrollment report. And so I'm going to pass it off to staff for that.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Ashley Vaquero from the Office of Charter Schools, and Allison and Dr. Stoops, I definitely look forward to meeting you in person when we can all be back in the building, hopefully sooner than later. So what I'm presenting today is an interim report on virtual charter school enrollments. This is due to the Joint Legislative Education Oversight Committee in March. So it will go in February to the State Board of Education for their review. You recently heard the presentation on the virtual charter schools in full. This report is very specific to legislation that was passed this summer. So as you recall, the original legislation for the 2 virtual charter schools we have in North Carolina capped the enrollment at 2,592 students. There was also an exception in there for the State Board of Education to waive that maximum student enrollment after the 4th year of operation. And as you are aware, many of you have heard the schools come before the boards and request that to go over that max. Currently, North Carolina Cyber Academy is still capped at the 2,592. And then Virtual Academy had been allowed to go to 2,945. That was before this summer. This summer, there was legislation passed in relation to the pandemic and signed into law in September of 2020. As part of that legislation, the 2 schools were given an allowance to increase enrollment. It's really important to understand this allowance is only for this school year. And as part of the allowance, the schools were given specific numbers that they could enroll. And there was also a provision that because this only was in effect for this school year, the 2020 to 2021 school year, any student that is enrolled through this provision shall receive enrollment priority next school year. So this allowance, one thing that's important to note is it's only for this year. And then also this didn't take effect until September, which I think probably has impacted some of the numbers we're seeing. But the legislation allowed cyber to increase up to 1,000 students. So that would be 1,000 over the 2,592. And North Carolina Virtual Academy was permitted to increase up to an additional 2,800 students. As part of this requirement, the schools were to submit data about these additional students for an interim report, which is what I am presenting today, and then for a final report, which we will hear next fall. So this report today will fulfill the interim report requirement required by this legislation. Any questions thus far? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Cyber Academy. There's not much to report because Cyber Academy did not utilize the legislation to enroll students above this cap. They ended month 3 with 2,441 students. That was their PMR for month 3. Their second semester actually begins today. And they are expecting to enroll approximately 72 students over the cap. So those students, which I've referred to in this report as expansion students, they will be reported on in the November report. But currently there is no data because they have not started school yet, or they start today. And they also have a wait list for next year for parents that are looking for next year enrollment of 157 students. Any questions on North Carolina Cyber? Okay. So for North Carolina Academy, this school did enroll not nearly their allowed 2,800 students, but they did enroll 411 students over their previous cap of 2,945. And so the school has provided great data on those students. Their enrollments concluded on the 100th day of school, which is actually this week. So they do not plan on enrolling any additional school or students for this school year. So if we look at the grade levels for those 411 students, Virtual Academy was very strategic about where they placed or where they opened up that enrollment. There are a number of factors they looked at. They looked at the demand, and then they also looked at who they could hire to support those positions and be able to have high quality teachers and also stay within the state mandated student to teacher ratios. So they chose to enroll in 4 particular grades. As you can see here, it is kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 6th grade. Pretty evenly spread, almost a quarter for each grade, with a bit higher enrollment in 6th grade. Any questions on the grade levels? Okay, for gender, also pretty evenly split, 51% female and 49% male enrolled. For their previous school type, you can see that the vast majority, 69%, came from traditional public schools. 5% came from charter schools, 5% from homeschool, 13% not in school. So most likely those probably are your kindergarten students that had not been in any type of school. A few out-of-state students, and then 27 students that had previously enrolled in private school. And this is just breaking it down. But again, you can see it's mainly traditional public schools. For ethnicity data, we have the majority of students are African American at 44%. Then you have white or Caucasian students at 38%, Hispanic at 8%, multiracial at 4%, Asian at 3%, American Indian or Alaska Native at 2%, and Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander at less than 1%. And then the school has also reported on special programs. So over half of the students that chose to enroll in Virtual Academy through this expansion allowance qualify for free and reduced lunch. That's 54% of them. They had 12% of these students have IEPs or in the exceptional children's program. Just a few with 504s or ESL, and 6 students that qualified as McKinney-Vento, which means they are currently without a permanent stable home. When we look at the district of residence, you can see that they are pulling from really all over the state. Just it seems to be, students here and there in some of the smaller counties, but, maybe 1 or 2 students, but it's definitely a wide variety of counties being represented. For the academic data, the school they use the NWEA MAP assessments. They also use NC check-ins, but because the students enrolled a little bit later than the normal students due to this legislation being passed in September. They did not have the first NC check-in, but they will take the second one in February. So this is the MAP data, which breaks down the grades into advanced, proficient, basic, and below basic. And you can see the graph makes it very evident. The younger students seem to be doing much, more of them are scoring advanced or proficient than the 6th grade cohort. So the Virtual Academy leadership, they have provided additional support and remediation for this 6th grade cohort. They have hired additional content teachers. They have hired an additional exceptional children's teacher, as well as an interventionist. In addition, they also hired what they call a student support advisor, which provides weekly one-on-one support for these students in the 6th grade cohort, which are showing greater needs than their other new students. So, I think the school seems to be using this data well to drive their interventions and their instruction and support where it's needed. And this is I have the withdrawal percentage. Since they have enrolled 411 students in September, 18 of them have withdrawn. 12 of those returned to their home school when, like their home traditional LEA school, when the schools reopened for in-person learning. And that concludes this interim enrollment report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ashley. Board members, any questions for Ashley on this enrollment report?
Ashley, did they just provide the data to you and you created this report? Looks very nice.
Yes, Sherry.
You do a great job. Thank you.
Yeah, just echo, this is Bruce. Thank you, Ashley, for pulling all this together. This is really good information to have.
You are welcome. I would like to thank Virtual Academy for having great data. Miss Acomb, who leads the school, has been very great to work with and provides, very detailed data, which is great for us to have and to have that partnership.
And Ashley, do I remember correctly, or maybe Dave, we're going to have both of these schools give us reports now on a quarterly basis, but not at the same meeting. Am I remembering that correctly?
That is correct. That was the original intention. However, because we occasionally go to one-day meetings based on the agenda, so we had originally had them for each of the schools on different days in February. We will actually see both of them in February at the same meeting because we're doing a one-day meeting. But they will be prepared to speak with you and present just a summary of last year's data and how they're doing currently to you in February. And then yes, you're correct. We will hear from them quarterly as well. So you don't have to there is no recommendation requirements for this, but I do think we probably want to just vote to approve it to go to state board. But other than that, there's not recommendations like you were required to make for the previous report.
Great. Well, if that's the case, I'll be happy to entertain a motion for the report's approval and echo the board members' sentiments regarding your diligent work in this. Thank you.
This is Bruce. I'll make a motion that we approve or accept this report on the two virtual academies.
Any other parlay seconds?
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none and anticipating a unanimous support, I'll call for a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Ashley.
Chairman Quigley, this is Dave Machado. I would just like to add to thank Ashley for the great job she did on this report. This was very time consuming, and also compliment Ms. Acombe at NCVA for providing great data. So again, I want to acknowledge publicly the great job Ashley did and the great reporting data that NCVA was able to give us. Thank you.
All right, great. So at this time, we're ready to take up Saba, and Dave and Ashley will just kind of defer to you about your recommendations for how we structure this time. Are we going to have them share, or are we just going to read this document? What's kind of the best approach?
We have sent this, the document that Saba sent us to everybody. Of course, I think you didn't get it till late last night, so you might not have had time to read it. I would suggest that we give you a few minutes to read it. According to legal department, we were asked to send these 3 questions to this school to determine whether they can justify being a single gender school. They in turn did send back their answers, and now we're asking you to look at it and give us your opinion. If you're ready to send it back to State Board of Ed. It is on the agenda for the next February meeting to vote whether to approve the school or not.
Okay, is this document in the? I'm not seeing it. And is it in? Okay, there it is.
It's an e-board.
All right, so let's just take 5 minutes here to just review this silently. Call this a silent solo. All right. Has everyone had a chance to review this? Can we open discussion at this time? I'm not hearing anything, so I'm going to assume that everybody's ready to go here. If you're not, just, I guess, keep reading while we kick the discussion off. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Hey, this is Jamie Falkenberry.
Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Good, good. I just want to weigh in on this one. I know I wasn't here when the board unanimously passed this a few months ago, but I think the rub here was that there was some concern at the state board. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was some rub from some state board members that could this really work being a single-sex school? Is that how we got to this situation?
If I could weigh in, happy to weigh in on that.
Okay.
This is Allison Schaefer.
Yes, go ahead, Allison.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was an issue raised about whether or not there was enough information to meet the legal standard that that a single have to meet a legal standard to justify having a single sex school that is only open to one sex. And so the three questions, the legal counsel came up with the three questions that you see there that needed to be answered, and in the record that the charter school had a justifiable reason for needing to limit the sex of students or to a single sex in the school. And that was the reason that these were requested. And in fact, it was determined that those questions would be asked of other charter schools that are currently in operation that are single sex schools, so that we have in the record the reasons for the justification for a single sex school that omits half of the student population.
And does the state board feel that this qualifies now?
It is
This letter?
for this, well, for decide, they've cited evidence that demonstrates their reasons for wanting to do this single-sex school, and it's for this board and the state board to determine whether those are adequate. But they have given, I will just say this, they have given information that cites research based on special needs of male students that are, may have special needs to serve. So let me just put it that way.
No, that's good. Well, I'll just chime in right here. I was I listened to this back when it was getting discussed in the previous board, and when it was passed unanimously, I do think this fits a need, especially for this community. And while I always want to make sure that the lawyers and everybody is, I guess, happy with the process. I mean, this did go through legislative staff, legislative legal staff, the House and Senate and their lawyers, the governor and their legal team, the entire CSAB, and now DPI's legal team. And I just think this would be a huge missed opportunity for this community if this doesn't get unanimously passed again and sent to the state board for approval. I mean, if you read their letter right here, they specifically, as Schaefer just discussed, they cite hard evidence for why this is needed, but also they touch on that there aren't these opportunities for young men in the state, and we do have a school already for females. So I would lend my support for this to get unanimously passed again, and then hopefully the state board will also unanimously pass the school so they can get the ball rolling.
Alex?
Sure.
I actually think they did a much better job of explaining what they plan to do and how it will meet the needs of this particular population. I think they did a better job in the letter than they did in the app, actually. One of the things we had talked to them about was what are you doing specifically different that's targeted to boys? And I think they really bring that out well in this letter. I thought Saba was a good move when we passed it the first time. I think this meets the requirement that was asked for, and I will be supporting sending it back.
Great. Thank you, Cheryl. Other comments?
Alex, this is Sherry. I agree with Jamie and Cheryl both. And I agree that this letter is very well written. And I think it meets the burden of proof for stating their case and in their response to those three questions. This board, when they came before us, had a very clear vision for male students in this particular community. And I think they just enhanced that vision by providing their justification in this letter.
Mr. Chairman, Joel Ford, if there are no other comments, I would like to move for a motion to accept and move forward.
All right.
Cheryl,
Thank
I
you, Joel.
second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. Further discussion.
This is Rita Hare. Apologize. I had a conflicting meeting. I've been late. I know that SABA revised their mission statement. And I apologize. I've missed the discussion about this, but did they also make adjustments to the curriculum and the very specified methodologies that they had for the Black and Brown population so that it would extend to all attending students?
Melanie, are you aware if I don't know if they have made those changes.
To my recollection,
Melanie?
yes, they did make those changes in their original mission statement. They made those changes.
And what about in their curriculum?
Right, there is no reference specifically to Black and Brown boys. They have basically stated that their curriculum will, yes, it will have cultural components, but it will be extended and valuable to the entire student population. So they made that update.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I know they mentioned, I think it's Howard Gardner's How Boys Learn. So that's probably reference to all boys. As you said, culturally diverse boys. So that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So we have a motion on the table. It's been properly moved and seconded. I'm going to support this as well and echo the comments of other board members. Any other comments?
Any other party with support, Mr. Chair?
All right, great. So we'll call for a roll call vote. Ashley?
Who seconded it? Derek Wiggum. I didn't hear.
Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Cheryl. Okay, thank you. All right. Let's see. Lynn Kroger,
Agree. Yes.
Cheryl Turner,
Yes.
Hilda Parlay,
Approves.
Sherry Reeves,
Aye.
Joel Ford,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Terry Stoops,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
and Alex Quigley.
Aye.
All right, it passes unanimously.
All right, great. Anything else on our agenda today?
That is all we have today.
All right.
Alex, I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure we're asking the same questions and justification from Go Big, who will come before us next month.
Yes, that's correct.
And what about Glow? Do we just have to make a presentation to the state board, but since they are already in operation?
Sherry, this is Dave. I have had several conversations with Glow. They had to provide this exact information when they applied for a federal grant. So they have the data and the answers to these questions. I've told them to wait until we requested it. Let's get through the two applicants first, and then we will get the information from Glow. I didn't want to confuse one school that's been in existence for 5 years with the two applicants. So that's why I told them we would be getting back to them when to submit that, if that's the pleasure of the board.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thanks, Dave. And I feel very strongly that Glow made their case very well when we approved them years ago.
And Mr. Chair or David, application reflect these three questions for future applicants who may consider single-sex schools?
Yes, ma'am. It sure will.
Great, thanks.
All right, nothing like a minute meeting that ends 25 minutes early, and I'll take a motion for adjournment.
If no further business, Hilda Parlay moves that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, properly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Next month, everybody.
Thank you very much.